A class divided. A third-grade teacher divided her students into two separate groups, blue-eyed students and brown-eyed students. On the first day, she labeled the blue group as the superior group and gave them extra privileges. She discourages the groups from interacting and regularly singled out children from the brown group on their negative characteristics. Almost instantaneously, the behavior of the children changed. Children from the blue group were more enthusiastic, performed better at tests, and began to bully the children in the brown group. The children in the brown group showed less confidence and performed worse at the test. The next day, the teacher reversed the roles, making the brown group the superior group. The results were the same, but with opposite roles. The experiment concluded that the behavior of racism and prejudice itself can negatively affect the outcomes of success. Asch Conformity. A group of people were shown pictures of lines of various lengths and then asked, which line is the longest? Unknown to one person in that group is that they are the only participant and all the other people are actors. Most of the actors were told to give out the wrong answer. Almost always, the lone participant follows the majority and gives the wrong answer, even though they know it was wrong. The experiment concluded that people have strong temptations to conform to a standard or majority, and often people care more about being the same as others than being right. Bobo Doll. Child participants were divided into three groups. The first group were shown a video of an adult male showing aggressive behavior to a Bobo doll. The second group were shown a video of an adult male showing passive, even playful behavior to a Bobo doll. The third group was a control and not shown anything. After finishing the video, each child was placed within a room with the same Bobo doll. Children that were shown the aggressive video showed more aggressive behaviors towards the Bobo doll compared to the control, and children that were shown the passive video did not show any increase in aggressive behavior. This experiment was repeated again with a female model acting on the Bobo doll. The study concluded that children acted more aggressively when exposed to aggressive models, regardless of sex. However, boys acted even more aggressively when exposed to aggressive male models, while girls acted more aggressively when exposed to aggressive female models. This experiment supports the theory that children are more strongly influenced by same-sex models and provides strong evidence for nurture. Car crash. Participants were asked to watch slides of a car accident as if they were an eyewitness to the crash scene. Then they were divided into two separate groups. Each group was questioned about the car crash, but with different wordings. The first group were questioned using neutral-sounding words, while the second group were questioned using suggestive words. The experimenters found that the use of different words affected the memories of the participants. They suggested that information gained during questioning can merge with the original memory, producing a distorted view of events. The experiment concluded that memory is easily distorted by the questioning technique, that leading questions do not just bias the eyewitness but can actually alter their memories. Cognitive dissonance. Participants were asked to perform boring tasks for hours. Initially, the participants reported that their attitude towards these tasks were negative. Then, they were paid either $1 or $20 to tell the next participant that the tasks were really interesting. Almost all agreed to lie to the next participant. Later, each participant was asked about their attitudes towards the tasks. The participants who were paid $1 to lie rated the tasks as more enjoyable than the participants who were paid $20. The participants who were paid $20 did not need to justify their boring tasks, as they felt properly compensated. However, the participants who were paid $1 had to justify their boring tasks by lying to themselves about the nature of the tasks. They had experienced dissonance. The experiment concluded that when people experience situations involving conflicting attitudes or beliefs, they will experience cognitive dissonance. And to overcome that cognitive dissonance, they will change one of the attitudes or beliefs. Fantz's looking chamber. Robert L. Fantz set up a board with two pictures attached. One picture is of a bullseye and another a sketch of a human face. He hung the board in a chamber where a 2-month-old baby could see both at the same time. Then from behind the board, invisible to the baby, he peeked through a hole to see what the baby looked at. The baby looked at the sketch of a human face twice as much as the bullseye. This study concluded that human babies do have some ability to distinguish patterns and that they innately recognize human faces. Hawthorne Effect. A study was commissioned to determine whether light levels in a building changed the productivity of the workers. The study showed that light levels made no difference in productivity as the workers increased their productivity whenever the light was switched from high to low or low to high. The researchers noticed that the workers increased their productivity whenever any variable was changed. The workers felt important when singled out, resulting in increased productivity. The study concluded that human subjects in an experiment will change their behavior simply because they are being studied. Kitty Genovese. In 1964, 28-year-old bartender Kitty Genovese was savagely murdered. According to the New York Times, the murder was witnessed by almost 40 of her neighbors. However, not one neighbor called the police for help. Although this account would later be dismissed as exaggerated, the case of Kitty Genovese would be the starting point of the bystander effect. The bystander effect states that the more bystanders are present, the less likely anyone will step in and help. The case led to many changes in medicine, psychology, and emergency response. Learned helplessness. Martin Seligman rang a bell, then lightly shocked a dog. He repeated this until the dog would react to the shock even before it happened. Once the bell rang, the dog would react like it was shocked. He then ran a second experiment. He took the same dog and placed it in a crate separated in the middle by a low fence. On one side of the fence, the floor was electrified. On the other side, it was not. He placed the dog on the electrified side and administered a light shock. The dog just lied down and didn't try to escape. Seligman hypothesized that during the first experiment, the dog learned that it could not avoid the shocks, and therefore did not try to avoid it even during the second experiment. Testing his hypothesis, he brought a new dog that hadn't been shocked and placed it on the electrified floor. The dog immediately hopped the fence to escape the shocks. The experiment concluded that under certain conditions, humans and animals do not attempt to get out of negative situations if the past has taught them that they are helpless. Little Albert. A white rat is placed in front of a baby Albert. Initially, the little Albert has no fear towards the rat. Researchers then produced a loud sound by striking a steel bar with a hammer every time the baby was presented with the rat. After repeating the noise and rat pairing a couple times, little Albert began to cry and express fear every time he was presented with the rat, even without the loud noise. The researchers then repeated this experiment on Albert with other everyday objects until little Albert feared them all. The experiment concluded that classical conditioning works on humans, and that adult irrational fears might be connected to early childhood negative experiences. Magical number 7, also called Miller's Law. Participants are presented with 10 different tones, varying only in pitch, and are taught that when each pitch is presented, they must reply with a corresponding response. Once learned, they are tested. Performance of each participant is almost always perfect up to 5 or 6 pitches, then declines as it goes higher, with 7 being the average score. This experiment concluded that the number of objects an average human can hold in their active memory is 7 plus or minus 2. Pavlov's dog. Ivan Pavlov sees a dog secrete saliva whenever they see food. This reflex is hardwired into the dog. He then rang a bell, but the dog didn't respond to it. Now every time he feeds the dog a bowl of food, he rings the bell. After repeating this feeding and ringing session multiple times, Pavlov tried the bell on its own. He found that the dog increased its saliva secretions just by hearing the bell. The dog had learned to associate the bell and the food together, learning a new behavior. The experiment concludes that animals can be conditioned to associate a hardwired stimulus with a new conditioned stimulus, so that the new stimulus brings about the same response.